All right. Good morning, guys. Happy race day. We got tons of time today to build lines. The race isn't until tonight. Looking forward to it. The Southern 500 at Darlington is easily one of my favorite races of the season. Just love the way that Darlington races, the challenges that it presents the drivers, being able to see the drivers' skills, on display. And, we're kickstarting the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see which playoff drivers, if any of them, can, advance and lock their way into the round of 12, or which drivers have issues. But regardless, we have another DFS slate to break down. So if you've been with us this far in the season, really liking, comment, sharing, retweeting our content allows us to reach more people. If you're watching this and you haven't already, hitting that subscribe button is greatly appreciated. We did hit our goal of 1,000 subscribers, so I'll have to come up with some new goal now that we can try to achieve. If you want access to this, it's just over on X. It's at Fast Cars FM. We usually post content over there for the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series as well. So if you're only on YouTube, make sure you go over to X. It's at Fast Cars FM for some additional content. Then, hey, if you want to say thanks, show your appreciation, allow me to buy, some more die-cast cars, you know, race jackets, shirts, go to races, you name it. There's a couple of tips, links there, I should say, in the support tab in order to do so. So, when we look at the race preview and initial thoughts, it is a long race tonight. We got 500 miles. Like I said, it is the start of the playoffs. Darlington is a tire management racetrack. Often you'll hear race the racetrack, don't race your competitors. We'll see comers and goers. Anytime there's a caution, teams will be screaming to put tires on. Um, Darlington is also a track where, there's risk versus reward. Drivers like Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, who are able to run right up to the wall, they'll be able to pick up fast laps. They'll be able to gain lap time. They can move forward when they want. The issue is if you overstep that line and you get into the wall, more often than not, you're going to get into issues. If you saw the Truck Series race, we did see that quite a bit. Drivers overstepping, clicking the wall, having a tire go down, damaging their car or truck, I should say, you name it. So just be mindful. It'll be fun to watch. And like I said, we have 367 laps tonight. So with 367 laps, there is more of an emphasis on lap leaders because it is going to be such a high scoring slate. Now, the first question you might ask is, whoa, what are all these blue colors? Well, those are the playoff drivers. So sometimes, people like to know who the playoff drivers are. They think maybe they'll run a little bit better than they normally do. So any driver in blue is going to be a playoff driver. So in terms of the driver by driver breakdown, we got Hamlin, Byron, Larson, Blaney, and Bell up here. Now, for me, it's going to be, some combination of Hamlin, Byron, and Larson. Those are going to be the three drivers I'm going to have the most ownership to. And sure enough, DraftKings also priced them up the most expensive. So Hamlin's really good here. He starts on the pole. He has the track position. He has the best chance of going out there and being a primary lap leader. In the 7 next gen races here, he has 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 4 top 10s. And he's also led 267 or 266 laps over those 7 races. So a lot to like with Denny Hamlin. Now, Byron's interesting. I'll take a drink of coffee here. It's better. So Byron has the strongest track history. He has a win, 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 328 laps led in a series best average finish here of 9.1 over those 7 races. So the nice thing with Byron is he gives you some place differential upside with lap leading ability. So if you are playing Byron, I like pairing him with a guy up front, maybe like a Denny Hamlin. Kyle Larson is also really good at this racetrack. This style fits his, skill set, what he's able to do. However, we have seen Kyle Larson overstep and sometimes be a little bit more riskier than he should, and that has resulted in him DNFing at this racetrack in 3 of the 7 races here. So, good chance he earns you fast laps. Good chance he's up front, but it only takes 1 lap to overstep, get into the wall, bend a toe link, you name it, and then your race is done. So, really like Larson today. I think he's a good chance of being a lap leader. Blaney historically has not been very good at Darlington, but however, we did see him run really well here in the spring. So, It's kind of a catch-22. If you think you can bring that spring speed, I think he'll be a good play, but I'd rather pay up for Byron with, kind of the similar starting position if you can. Bell, he's okay, just kind of starts in a weird spot where I think the Hamlins, the Larsons, even some other guys who start further forward have a better chance of leading laps. And then there's some other drivers who give you a little bit more place differential upside. So Bell would be a guy just to get different in tournaments. I don't think he's going to be, he'll have ownership, but I don't think he'll have the same amount of ownership as some other guys up here. Reddick's kind of in that same boat as Kyle Larson, another driver who really runs well here. This fits his driving style. The nice thing about Reddick, though, is, has not had the DNFs that Larson has. So maybe he is a little bit more calculated per se when it comes to, running the wall. He's also a little cheaper than Larson. He has four top fives, five top tens in the seven next gen races here. He's led 317 laps over those races. So, pretty similar numbers to Larson. But I will say Larson does have a series best 392 laps led over the seven races here. So, the Hamlins, the Byrons, the Larsons, the Reddicks, these are all, projected really good lap leading upside types of plays. Chase Elliott's a little bit more of a place differential play. The only problem with Elliott is he's $9,500. And as we start to get a little bit lower on the slate here, you're going to see some other place differential plays for much cheaper. And really for today's slate, what I want to do is really just hone in on my 2 to 3 lap leaders who I think are going to, pick up fast laps, get me laps led, plug them in, and then really figure out how much salary I have left to find my place differential and my value plays. For those reasons, I think Elliott's going to be difficult to get to with his price tag. And I will say too, he's led no laps here over the seven races, but he does have an average finish of 12th. So, looks like a solid day. I just don't know if DFS wise that's going to be the best, lineup type of construction you can build. Chase Briscoe starts second. Everyone's going to play Denny Hamlin, but don't overlook Briscoe. I mean, Briscoe's been running really well this year. He starts on the front row. There's a scenario where he goes out, he gets the lead early in this race, and he is a, relatively a cheaper lap leader for you. So I don't mind Briscoe at all for tournaments. Logano, more of a GPP play. I don't know how much ownership he will have, but his Darlington numbers are actually pretty good. He has a win here, two top fives, three top tens, 171 laps led, average finish of 11th. So looks like he'll be a top 10 contender, today. If he started a little bit further back, maybe he'd give you a little bit more upside. Chastain and Bubba Wallace, these are both kind of, maybe your tier three, if you're building a lineup construction with, 3 or 4 lap leaders, I think Chastain and Wallace can kind of slot into that third or fourth, lap leading upside type of play. Chastain runs really well at Darlington. This is a really good track for him. And typically this year, he's been qualifying in the back and racing his way forward. Now he actually has some track position to work with, so that'll be interesting to watch. And then Bubba Wallace has really been showing good speed as of late. He's a lot cheaper than Tyler Reddick. One top five, four top tens in the seven races here, so pretty good. Chastain also has three top tens in the seven races here, so I really like Chastain and Wallace for tournaments. Busher's okay. Average finish here of around 14th. He does have a top five and four top tens. So kind of like Logano, maybe he's a top 10 contender type of play. For me, I'd rather lean on the Chastains and the Wallaces, who I think have a little bit more lap leading upside. Even Logano, I would say, has more lap leading upside than Busher. Barry and Bush, I'm just really not getting to these guys. Barry starts a little bit too far forward for me. I don't think he's going to maintain that running position. Kyle Busch is just having a tough year. Then we get down to this 7K range. So I really like this range for place differential purposes. You got Bowman, Keselowski, and Ryan Preece, even Hocevar in there too. So again, what I want to do is find my lap leaders and then figure out how much salary I have left. Bowman doesn't have the best track history here, but he starts so deep in the field, and it's a Hendrick Motorsports car in the playoffs, so I really don't want to overthink it too much. Keselowski has the best numbers here in the 7K range. He has a win, two top fives, four top tens, gives you a lot of place differential upside. Now, there is a concern with these drivers starting so far back in the field. They're going to go lap down early in the race, but it's a 500 lap race. There'll be plenty of opportunities for them to earn their lap back if that is the case. And I think they'll slowly and methodically work their way forward. I think all of them have top 10 upside. Um, Austin Cindric starts 10th and really just not getting there in 7 races here. He has not finished in the top 10 once. Hocevar is maybe a pivot play off of the Bowmans and the Keselowskis and the Preces. Um, his ownership should be a little bit less, but he's a little bit riskier. We've seen him show flashes of speed and then also get DNFs, this year. Priest just missed out on the playoffs, still having a strong year, wants to continue that momentum, for $7,100 starting 27th with how this team usually runs and finishes. That looks like a great value play. Now, Eric Jones does have a win here. This is arguably one of his better tracks, starting 19th. Kind of going to be a pivot option off of, the chalky place differential plays there. A little bit more of a tournament option to take a risk on, but, not a ton of upside in my mind. Crazy to see Ty Gibbs for only $6,900. So if you get all your picks down and this is the range you kind of end up in, I don't mind Ty Gibbs at all, just off of the equipment and the upside alone that you get with Ty Gibbs. And his numbers here are okay. It looks like a top 15 is very doable for him. SVG and Austin Dillon are both in the playoffs, but I'm really just not interested for DFS wise. SVG, he's getting better on the ovals, but I mean, I don't really know how much further forward he can go. Austin Dillon, not really a lot of upside there, in my opinion. Suarez is having a pretty tough year. Gregson's another guy that gives you some place differential upside, but he more often than not is either slow or involved with incidents, and more often than not is kind of like a trap, type of play. I'd rather go to Zane Smith and AJ Allmendinger here. They do start a little bit, mid-pack, but decent, finishing potential and speed out of both of these teams. And then I do like McDowell, Nemechek, Gilliland, and Stenhouse. I would probably prefer McDowell out of all of them just based off of his numbers here. He does have 3 top 10 finishes in the 7 races. Probably the highest finishing potential, I would say, of them. But, Nemechek, Gillen, and Stenhouse give you a little bit more price savings. They start deep in the field. None of these drivers, I think, are going to be particularly fast, but it almost doesn't really even matter what these guys do if it allows you to pay up and upgrade to get, another lap leader type of play in your lineup. So, if you don't get those lap leaders in, you're not going to have a chance of, cashing anyway. So it's almost kind of irrelevant, what these guys do. But, they are all in the player pool for me. And then really from there, I'm not getting the Haley, I'm not getting the Custer, I'm not getting the Ware, I'm not getting the Timmy Hill, I'm not getting the Derek Kraus. Maybe I'm getting the Herbst and Dillon a little bit. If for whatever reason, the 400, 500, 600, $700 difference going from McDowell down to Herbst allows you to potentially upgrade like I don't know, Chris Buescher to Ross Chastain or, whoever, Ryan Blaney to William Byron or something like maybe that makes sense for you and that's a good way to go about it. So for me, it's really just finding those 2 to 3, lap leaders that you feel most confident in, plugging them in your lineup, seeing how much money you have left and trying to build a, lineup that can score you the most points from there. So, plenty of time today to build lineups. So hopefully, everyone's having a great Labor Day weekend, enjoying this long weekend. And thank you guys, as always, for the support. And we'll catch you next weekend.